Okay, sorry guys. I have to do another quick one because it seems that my audio was off. I'm speaking for half an hour. Nobody tells me that they can't hear anything. So um, that's a bit stupid. But okay. I have like 15 minutes. So let's get started. So uh, what I'm doing today is I'm introducing um, SwiftMail, yeah, which is an open source framework that I've been working on for the last week or so. 95% uh, of the code was essentially produced by Cursor, which I love in agent mode. I use it all the time. But I found that uh, I had to do often a Git commit because it would go off the rails and implement things that I don't want. But every time I got like a good state, I made a commit and then I could go back to that. Yeah. And let me give you some background why SwiftMail. Yeah. Um, I'm working on an agent framework and I want my agents to also be able to read and write emails. And in order to do so, they need to access a mail server to retrieve emails by IMAP and to send emails by SMTP. And so I was looking for a Swift package that would allow me to do that. And I only found Mail Core 2, but unfortunately, Mail Core 2 is doesn't seem to be building at the moment, and the last release was 2020, and there are some forks that are newer, but I couldn't get them to work. So I figured, well, maybe I can find something else. And ChatGPT had actually suggested Neo IMAP, and I found that Neo IMAP is actually an open source project from Apple, which puts a IMAP wrapper, you could say, or IMAP plugin on top of Neo. And Neo is Apple's uh, open source networking framework. So you can run that on local computers, but also on server, and I think maybe even in Linux. I haven't tried it. And so what it Neo does, it provides you a channel. So if you have a server in the cloud and a client downstairs, client on your computer, they establish a channel, and then the client will send commands onto the channel, which the server can read, and the server would respond. And what Neo IMAP does is it lets you work on a more abstract level. It you give it commands. Yeah, it looks like commands like this. Yeah. Um, and those get transferred into the actual commands that are then sent on the channel, and also the other way around. What comes back is also uh, processed, and you get nice enums and structs and everything out of it. But I found it's quite bothersome to actually work with it because it uses lots of promises and stuff. So I wanted a nice interface, and this is how the interface looks for SwiftMail, or rather here Swift IMAP. Um, that you create a server with some credentials, you connect to it, you send a login, you get the status of your inbox. Then there's a convenience function that gives you the IDs, or rather the sequence numbers from the latest 10, and then it will output these, and at the end you log out and close. And that works all quite well. And the other thing is, oh, sorry, I wasn't showing you my screen. Yeah. So I'll get into this example later with Swift IMAP as well. And here's the sample for SMTP, the same way. Yeah. You can connect to the server, you can authenticate, and then you can send an email. Yeah. And at the end, you disconnect. And the reason why there is now a Swift SMTP, although there was only a Neo IMAP, is if you search for Neo SMTP, also find an example from Apple, or rather from, yeah, well, it's under Apple Swift New Examples. And here's a Neo SMTP, but it hasn't reached the maturity of Neo IMAP. Yeah. Also, SMTP is a much simpler protocol, so maybe it doesn't need to. But what I was able to do with the help of Cursor is I just told Cursor, yeah, based on how we did it for IMAP, and based on this example, I was able to do the same thing for SMTP as well. Yeah, so nice thing here. And let me show you a bit around. Yeah, so the package itself, where's my Xcode? I like to use Xcode for editing because I just like the style better. Yeah. So the package, yeah, is supported by me on these platforms. Maybe there's a few more that it can support because Neo is multi-platform. There's a umbrella library, SwiftMail. So you can import SwiftMail and you get IMAP and SMTP. Or if you only want IMAP, you can import that directly from this one or this one. SwiftMail core contains things that are used by both at the same time. And then there are two executables, which are demos. Yeah, there is a demo for a terminal app that interacts with IMAP, and one for SMTP. And here are all the dependencies. Yeah, you see mostly Apple stuff. Yeah, and there's the .env, which I use for the command line things to load an environment file, which looks like this. Yeah, you've got your IMAP information and your SMTP information in a .env that doesn't get put into the GitHub repo. And with those in place, you can run the demos. Yeah? And yeah, that's the rest of this. Let me show you the demo briefly. Yeah. So there's a if you do, we can just do Swift build, yeah, in this project, because the package is set up to just build, so it will compile everything. You can, there's some unit tests, so you can do Swift test, yeah, that all pass, of course, at this moment. And then you can do Swift run if there's an executable target, yeah. But in this case, there are two, so you have to specify which one. So let's start with Swift IMAP CLI first. And what it does is it should, yeah, here it is. It lists the latest 10 emails. In this case, I have 8 in my folder. And that's all there is to it. This is my Gmail account. And the same thing we can do for SMTP. And SMTP essentially just sends an email. And in order to have something to test for the attachment, I downloaded a Swift logo. And command line programs can't have any resources. So the quickest way to get an image to attach to the mail was to download it and then attach it. And that's what happens here. Yeah. And this mail comes out like so. Yeah. I didn't do any styling on this. This is all Cursor. Yeah. The only thing I said is put this here in the email, and I want HTML as well. Yeah. So funny thing that works very, very nicely. And there's one more thing that I want to show you. To appreciate what goes on behind the scenes, there is a way to enable debug output. Yeah. So if you do on the console, export this, and now I run SMTP, I can filter my console and now run it. And then you see here's all the traffic. The individual responses from the server is coming in, and out is what I'm sending to the server. And you see this is the back and forth. Here sending it a mail from, giving it a recipient, and then the whole mail. Yeah, and that's what sends it. And the same works for the IMAP as well. So if I run IMAP CLI, you see the IMAP commands coming back and forth. That was very helpful for debugging. Those are on trace level from the logging framework. By the way, I use OS log only in the command line interfaces with a bootstrapper onto Swift log, where it converts those messages. Yeah, in a Swift log, you see the dot separates the category of, and I have category dot IMAP in, IMAP out, SMTP in, SMTP out, and this way they still get put into the OS log. Yeah, and so I don't need any OS log in this framework, which might be beneficial in the future if somebody ever does something on a server with this, because as far as I know, all those are also supported on server. All right, so what are the next steps? Yeah, I imagine that there should be maybe some class in the future that has both a IMAP and an SMTP connection, and then an agent would just say, make a new draft, and it would create a draft with a draft flag on the IMAP server in the drafts folder, add to it, attach something to it, and when the agent is ready to send the email, it would talk to the SMTP connection, take this email, send it, and then move the email from the drafts folder to the send folder. So it's almost like, well, entirely like as if you sent it. Yeah, and right now this supports all the basics. Yeah, even SSL encrypted and start TLS and all of that, because that's necessary nowadays to talk to Gmail or my own web server. So of the capabilities that servers tell you, I look for what kind of authentication does it support, and they are the most basic one I support. There might be more advanced ones like Kerberos and whatnot that we would need to implement, but for that it's better if somebody who has this concrete test case implements it and we just send me a merge request. And yeah, the other thing, so it's all open source. I'm happy to discuss enhancements and receive pull requests, and I hope you like this new framework of mine. Just a quick note on the licensing. Yeah, it has the standard 2-clause license for all my components. Yeah, this means that you have to mention that SwiftMail is from Coconetics or from Oliver Drobnik. And there's a license you can buy of my homepage where you don't have to do that, which I call no attribution license. It's a small amount, and then basically you have the right to do that on a basis. Yeah, so that's it. I hope you like it. SwiftMail ready for you to be used or enhanced. And I hope you like this format of me explaining stuff online. If you do, give me a like and subscribe. Maybe leave some comments on this video. I read all the comments and I'd be happy to hear your thoughts. So that's it for today. Thank you very much. Goodbye. Goodbye. So how do I stop this studio broadcast? And YouTube content control and string